Hello there, it's Lynda Hill here, reporting in from Avalon Beach, Sydney, Australia. It's been an interesting couple of weeks, and it's been interesting for me in many ways. I've been quite ill, and I think a lot of people have had the flu. It's funny, I'm hearing a lot of my American friends saying they're having the flu, and of course they're in winter. Here we are in summer here in Australia, and a lot of us have had this respiratory thing. Excuse me. And I honestly thought I had whooping cough for the last few weeks, and I'm only just surfacing now and wondering how I'm going to go with this recording. Anyway, onwards and upwards, I reckon. So I want to report in with a bit of what's going on astrologically, obviously, at the moment, because we're in pretty big times, and I don't want to miss that. You know, the moon's node, which is quite a, people talk about it being a karmic point. I think all planets, all things, all degrees are all karmic points, and then I sometimes wonder what karma means anyway. And it's not that I need to investigate, what karma means. I just think that it's such an all-around big concept that, the moon can be karmic. Venus can be karmic, but we do say in astrology that the moon's north node is a very karmic point. Having said that, I know I've led you around in circles. I think it really can bring about very fated meetings, very fated realizations, and very fated relationships. I think can really come with the moon's north node. And the moon's north node right now is on a very interesting degree that talks about relationships in general. And so is Jupiter. Jupiter and the moon's north node are on the same degree, and that is the 24th degree of Virgo. This is remembering that you always add one to the zodiacal degree to get the accurate Sabian symbol. So the moon's north node and Jupiter are both on Virgo 24, and the Sabian symbol for that is Mary and her white lamb. Now, Mary and her white lamb, I've long seen that as a degree of codependence and dependence, and it can bring up issues to do with narcissism or really wanting to please everybody, and being on that scale of wherever we might happen to find ourselves at any particular point. We're either Mary or we're the lamb, or we're seeing that in people around us. And it is good to remind ourselves that the Sabian symbols don't always talk about exactly what's happening to us. They can talk about what's happening around us or what we're noticing. So if you say, well, that's not happening in my chart, but in my life, but I can see it's happening in people around me, well, that, is quite often how it manifests. So, excuse me, life's like that, a clearing of the throat. So Mary and her white lamb, the lamb followed Mary to school, and it was like, Mary didn't want to be separate from the lamb. I think a lot of us know how this feels. If we take in a stray dog or a stray relationship, and we could be concerned about their welfare. If we weren't around, what would happen? Do they need us to help them to live, to be fed, to be nourished, to be patted, to be looked after? This can happen on many, many levels, and it really can show issues to do with codependence, and it can really hold us back if we're on the wrong side of the equation. Oh, well, I don't really like even to say the wrong side, but you guys can figure out what I mean by that, or what you mean by that is more important. But it's that how am I in this equation? And the reliance on others and having others rely on you can be quite an issue with this degree. It can be a very pure degree. It can be a degree of real love and acceptance and beauty and caring. Naturally, Mary and her white lamb, it wasn't all about codependence, but I do see those issues come up with this degree. Always those issues come up. And, we've got it really highlighted with Jupiter and the North Node conjunct at the moment. And then in the next few days, so I'm recording this, where is it? It's the 15th of January at the moment. And as I'm recording this, Venus is heading into the square with the nodes and Jupiter. And so that's going to accentuate this North Node thing. I must point out that the South Node is on the 24th degree of Pisces, and this is the inhabited island, and this is the South Node, and this is, this can really talk about how do we get along with others? How are we sharing with others? How are our flatmates, our housemates, our mates, our landlords, our neighbours? How are the people down the street? How do we get along with people who live in our environment? And the inhabited island can be where we go, oh God, stuff this, I really feel like going off to a deserted island for a few days. And that might be really true right now because we've just had the sun go over and Mercury is presently on the woman entering a convent. So there can be this really strong feeling of, oh, help, I want to escape, especially as it's the south node on the inhabited island. It's like, it can be where we go, oh, just give me a few minutes to myself. I really need some regrouping here, especially if you feel like, the lamb has been, can you not, need some, you might need some space. Somebody else might need some space. And by realizing that, we can take the heat off our relationships, whether it's us or them or whatever that might be feeling this. With Jupiter in the North Node, this can bring about a great deal of luck. There can be so much luck with this, and with Jupiter and with Venus even squaring it from Sagittarius. I'll come to that in a minute. But Jupiter in the North Node conjunct can be publishing. It can be, the desire to travel, plans to travel. It can be getting our spiritual lives more in order. It can be looking at our philosophical beliefs. It can be meeting with foreigners. It can be expanding our horizons, taking on university or college degrees, or any of that stuff. It's higher knowledge. It's spirituality in a manner of speaking. It can also be overblown feelings. It can also be, there can be an enormous amount of xenophobia in that if we're inclined to that, or we see situations that are inclined to that. The xenophobia can be that fear of foreigners. Oh no, don't bring anything too different into my life. I've got this happy little inhabited island, and I don't want any people from other cultures coming in and wrecking that. That's not what I think. I'm just pointing out, that can be the reality of that South Node. I happen to live in a place that's historically Anglo-Saxon, and I sometimes long, for that real community that brings different feelings and different understandings and different languages together. I mean, I do get that in my life, but living in a place called Avalon, it's Anglo-Saxon heaven. I say that with tongue in cheek because I reckon we could do with a few more, mixing it up, putting it in the thing, and getting people active together. They come from really different cultures. Having said that, of course, there can be conflicts around that. Jupiter conjunct the North Node can be, you're not from my tribe, get out of my face. I mean, it really can. It can be very much about that. Or it can be very welcoming. Here, come in, this is the open door, enjoy. Obviously, it depends on what's going on. And there can be extremes with Jupiter. Big extremes, big ideals, big dreams, big, can be big. And it's especially interesting as Venus in Sagittarius is adding to that flavour. Venus is in Sagittarius at the moment. And in the next couple of days, I mean, it's the 16th, I think it is to be exact. I think it is something like that. 16th and the 17th. Oh, no, it's even later. It's the 18th or the 19th. It's around that time. It's this week anyway. Venus is going to be on the bluebird of happiness. It's Sagittarius 24. It's going to be squaring the nodes and squaring Jupiter, and it's going to be on the bluebird of happiness at the gate of the cottage. So that can be the real desire to be happy and have a white picket fence, and the whole thing of being happy in one's environment. It's a very interesting one because the degree before that, the karmic condition of that degree, is the immigrants fulfilling the requirements for entering a new country. And so that's immigrants. I mean, it's very much about migrants, refugees, about ourselves. We might go, oh, I don't know if I can do this thing because I don't know if I fully fulfill the requirements for entering into that new reality, that new place, that new possibility. But with Venus squaring the nodes, and with Jupiter, Venus squared Jupiter, we can make some very big plans at the moment that can really come off, especially if we really put our heart and soul into it. And if we really feel like we're moving towards something that we really want, we can really do it. But, there's something about this period, too, that's had a lot of us in mourning. As I'm making this recording, Mercury is on the woman entering a convent. And where the North Node has just been, and Jupiter didn't quite make it up to it, but it's going to. Where the North Node has just been for at least a week, right up until David Bowie's death. It was on the flag at half-mast in front of a public building. So that's really having an impact on this January, and our feelings right at the moment. The flag at half-mast in front of a public building is obviously about mourning. It's about, the letting go. It's about the acknowledgement of loss. And it can be where we say, I've followed this path for a long time, and now it's time to pull down that flag and have it at half-mast and ready to hoist it again for some other ideal or some other place or some other possibility, some other relationship maybe, some other idea, or ideal is very big with Jupiter North Node. So, we are quite in a time of mourning, and the death of David Bowie, like, I found it really hard to accept. It wasn't like I was sitting around staring at brick walls. I certainly wasn't, but I wasn't well for a start. But the thing is that I was like, is this a hoax? This feels too weird. It sort of felt like we were meant to get old with David Bowie around. And it happens like that a lot when we lose icons. And the flag at half-mast is really what happens when we lose icons. We don't lower the flag unless it's, for somebody who means a lot to us, or something that means a lot to us, or a situation that means a lot to us that we may have to move on from. The opposition to the flag at half-mast, which, by the way, is 24 plus of Virgo, the opposition to that is the purging of the priesthood. That's when people from the priesthood live our lives, or it can be where we go, no, you are no longer going to be in charge of my spiritual direction, or telling me what to do, or laying down laws. It can be all that. But the purging of the priesthood can be where we say, I'm seeing right through that person or that situation. I'm really seeing into the depths of that, and I'm going to take back my own sense of direction, or my own authority. It's a big one for authority. The purging of the priesthood. When the purging of the priesthood happens, they've got to lower the flag to half-mast. It's sort of like, even if we didn't like the person, that can happen. When somebody, big in our society dies, you just see all the flags come down to half-mast, even if they were a complete bastard, who really abused their authority. And of course, we see that a lot. And, Jupiter conjunct the North Node at the moment, we may be come up against situations where people abuse their authority, because Jupiter can be that overbearing, you do what I say. And we're finding that with our laws in Australia here. It's getting a little bit out of hand. We're so regulated. And I think that's happening a lot everywhere. I'm seeing it everywhere. And what to do about that, I guess, with Mary and her white lamb, we just have to, be okay with some of it. I mean, what can we do? For a lot of people this January, there's going to be a sense of mourning. Oh, I must say that right when we heard about David Bowie's death, the sun was in Aquarius. Sorry. The moon was in Aquarius and squaring Mars in Scorpio on the mourning degrees, meaning MOURNING. I see the 5th degree of fixed, whether it's 5 degrees of Taurus or 5 degrees of Leo. I'm talking about 4 plus in the zodiac. 5 degrees of Scorpio, 5 degrees of Aquarius. That's the fixed cross at 5 is very much about mourning. It's about letting go. It's about loss, and there was the moon on the Council of Ancestors that have been called to guide a man, squaring Mars in Scorpio on the massive rocky shore resists the pounding of the sea. I was going to go to my book, but I do a lot of this. I do them almost entirely out of my head, so sometimes my head's a bit full up with cough mixture right this moment. Yeah, the massive unchanging rocky shore resists the pounding of the seas. It's sort of like, no, that wasn't supposed to happen. And the Council of Ancestors have been called to guide a man. I think we can see that image in those videos that were released, and David Bowie's, Starman, Black Star going up to the heavens journey. I think we were touched by that. And Mars, on that degree was like, no. Anyway, I've talked about that enough. But and the thing is that what's going to happen the unfolding in this month, I think, through the agency of the moon's nodes, is that the nodes in a couple of days' time, I have to see when that is, it's around about the 23rd of January, are going to go back to the lion tamer, rushing fearlessly into the circus arena. And this can talk about where we've been waiting to do something, or we really want to do something, or we've been practicing to do something, and we really want to take it on. We want to get a website going. We want to have a performance. We want to put on a workshop. We want to get published, whatever it happens to be. We really want to get going with our plans, and this is going to really succeed in direct relation to how organised or rehearsed you feel that you are. It's an interesting word, rehearsed, isn't it? Because rehearsed, hearse, is another word of mourning. But, rehearsed, I guess, is, feeling like we're reborn, we're coming back out, Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Yes, and and we've got Mercury retrograde at the moment, of course, and that's an interesting one. And Mercury goes back, goes direct about the 28th of January. These are ballpark degrees. It doesn't really matter. It depends on where you are on the planet. So around the 28th, no, it's not the 28th. No, I do apologise. It's the 26th, 25th, 26th, yes. Mercury goes direct, and it goes direct conjunct Pluto. And I think this has got a lot to do with this mourning period. Mercury, Pluto is like, whoa, it can really bring up a lot of issues to do with mourning. And the Sabian symbol for that is in a hospital. The children's ward is filled with toys, and that's Pluto and Mercury. And again, the vaccination debate comes up, the debate about children's health, the debate about pharmaceuticals, the debate about our health. And here I am sitting here full of cough mixture. Interesting. So that's a really highlighted degree this year, that 15th degree of Capricorn. I won't explain why now, but it's going to be really big right throughout the course of this year. We're going to see that a lot. That's the children's ward in a hospital filled with toys. And the toys don't have to be toys. It can be Lego. It can be colouring books. But more than anything, it's anything that brings a healing to us. It can be gadgets. It can be healing modalities. It can be learning something. It can be going to the right technician or therapist to be healed. It's a very interesting time. Secrets are coming forward too, right when the new moon, right when we learn about David Bowie, Venus and Saturn were conjunct on the widow's past is brought to light. And if that isn't adequate, and from a description of that, I don't know what is. But of course, for most of us, it means many other things. And it can be where we have to bring things to light. We have to bring to light our ways of being in relationships. We have to perhaps look at secrets that have come to light from our childhoods, from our parents, from our, how we've been with others. That can be a big part of the widow's past is brought to light. It can be where we feel like things that might have better stayed under wraps are now coming to light, but there can be an enormous healing with that. I think that really added to this mourning about David Bowie. And now we've got Alan Rickman, who is gorgeous. He's an English actor. And for a lot of us, that's like, oh, no, not another one. But, when you look around, it's not that there's so many more people dying. It's just that they've really hit home. And the reason they've really hit home is, I think, because the North Node has just been on the flag at half-mast in front of a public building, and we're feeling this sense of loss. We're feeling this sense of, oh no, can we just hang on to that thing? Do we have to let go of something else? It's about that. And the Venus and the Saturn conjunct in Sagittarius on the widow's past is brought to light, and Mars on that mourning degree of 4+ of Scorpio, which totally is. If you look at 5 degrees of Taurus, it's the widow standing at an open grave. The 5 degrees of Aquarius is the council of ancestors have been called a guide man. I really do see that 5th degree of fixed as being about mourning. And we had, Mars sitting on that for a little while. I mean, we've moved off from that now, but I think it's still really inputting into us. That was very much around the new moon. Mars is on a mourning degree. Venus and Saturn were on the widow at the widow's past is brought to light. The nodes were on the flag at half-mast in front of the public building. And Uranus is on the 2 prim spinsters sitting together in silence. And I think this is really adding to the, can I have a few moments to myself idea. So really interesting time. I think I'll keep this one a bit short. I'm not good at doing that, but I'm going to in this case. We've got a lot of, we've got Mercury retrograde to get through in the rest of this month, and it's, that's contributing to our sense of like, what's happening? And, but I think it's all pretty good. I think with Venus squaring the nodes in this coming week, I think that, and Jupiter, there can be a lot of breakthroughs. And I think as long as we stick with that positive and we stick with the belief that we can really make something work, it doesn't matter if we've got college credentials, we don't have to, the immigrants fulfilling the requirements or entering a new country, that can be as simple as, yes, tick, I did that. Yes, I know about that. Tick, it doesn't have to be, oh, I've got college, I'm a college graduate and I spent, 18 years at university. It doesn't have to be. It can be, I've got my heart in the right place and I'm going to go for it. And this month is about going for it. But at first, I think there's that sense of letting go. And I think that once we acknowledge that sense of letting go and we're okay with it, we can move on. We can be, the lion tamer. What's the lion tamer? No, it's the, I didn't know what it is. Yes, the lion tamer rushes fearlessly into the circus arena. Jupiter is spending ages on these degrees, ages, and so that is a really good thing, I think, and it's got a lot to do with our sense of royalty and our sense of self, this Jupiter transit. One of the most gorgeous degrees that Jupiter is going over in its, particularly next month, is the Royal Coat of Arms enriched with precious stones. That's Virgo 22. It's going to be on it for a couple of weeks. And so that reminds us that regardless of our credentials, we have to stay with our sense of self-esteem, with our sense of royalty is a good word, although I'm not a royalist, I can tell you right now. But, it's very much about the belief in oneself, the belief in one's beauty and one's abilities. Anyway, I think that wraps it up for now. I hope that that's made some sense of, this sense of mourning. It's been really, really big, and mourning, MOURNING. And when we get past this period, and I think we're getting past it now as we speak, in this next week, we're going to, I think, get a renewed sense of belief in the future and a renewed sense of what it is that we're meant to be doing. Well, and we've got this opportunity for doing these things, and we should follow those. And I think it's really important. Just as an addendum, I am putting up the price on my readings fairly soon. I lowered them considerably. I made them half price a couple of years ago because so many people were hurting financially, and I'm finding that I'm not earning enough to be able to spend time on writing. I spend so much time on my readings and energy on my readings, so I'm going to have to put up the cost of my reading. So if you want to get a reading, really do get in now, book a reading. You can go to my consultations with Lynda on my website at sabiansymbols.com. I will be putting up the price on January 21, which is not that long away. And it's something I really do need to do it. I've needed to do it for ages. I may be increasing the cost of memberships as well on my website. I'm yet to consider that. The cost of the memberships on my website is way less than other people because I charge yearly and most people charge monthly. And when you look at it, I mean, mine are much less for a year than people are charging per month. But I need to be able to, put some time and energy into that. So I need to generate funds. Anyway, so just wanted to add that addendum in there. And it's interesting because the sun, I think, is right now about to move on to, or it is on. That's right. That the sun is right now on a degree that talks about selling yourself, bringing in money and selling the things that you have to offer. And it's the Capricorn 25. It's the Oriental rug dealer in a store filled with precious ornamental rugs. So it's sort of like, yes, advertise yourself, promote yourself, and often through the internet. The next degree of the sun in the next 24 hours is going to, well, more than that, but it's Capricorn 28. It's the large aviary, and no, I'm jumping ahead of myself. It doesn't matter. Don't worry. I'm at the end of this, and I have to go because I'm full of cough mixture. But I am good for doing readings. I'm gathering my strength. So do book if you want a reading and want to save money on that. I hope you enjoy, and I hope that made some sense of what's going on. Bye.